Hello again, fellow enthusiasts and water cooling enthusiasts. I have made progress on my Ryzen Beast. I have now built the system on air to test it. I still have not received my SSD. So a couple of bad surprises. First off, the radiator, which is a 60mm thick radiator and the 25mm fans, have clearance issues with the motherboard. If you look up closely, I couldn't put the last fan, and I just put it temporarily here because it was in collision with the VRM heat cooling, and also the cables wouldn't be able to fit the 8-pin and 4-pin power cables. Another little bad surprise, I'd say, is that if I want to put in the this fan in front, I cannot actually see the Corsair 6 Hero logo of motherboard. So I also might end up removing that. So the cable, I'm pretty satisfied with the white and black sleeving. However, again, something that I think is a bit disappointment is that the power connector of the 24-pin must really be pushed, and the contact is a bit wobbly. So yeah, put it, don't touch it. Another mention is this graphics card that I didn't do in my previous video, the EVGA GeForce 1060. It's just kind of going in here temporarily because I have a 1080p monitor, and I think 4K screens at the moment are not there yet in terms of HDR, color contrast and refresh rate, and also there isn't any hardware to push that refresh rate past 120 Hz. I'm just gonna stick with this graphics card for a small moment, for a while, not a small moment, I guess maybe a year or two. And when the market is more mature in the 4K, I'm gonna jump into it. One thing really important about this graphic card is to know that you cannot use it on motherboards that have PCI Express Gen 2. It has only a 6-pin power connector, and the rest of the power draw is directly from the PCI Express slot. So supposedly the PCI Express protocol is backwards compatible, but this specific graphic card is not. It will not run on any system that has PCI Express Gen 2. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna power up the system now so you can see how it looks with also the with the Alchemy 2.0 LED strip I've put in here. I've ordered the second one so it could go a bit all around. One other disappointment is this cooler. Even though it's temporary just to test it on air so I can potentially find issues, is that it's listed on the on the website, which is a Artic's website, which is a pretty good respectable brand for cooling and it's been around for quite a while. And they list that cooler, the Artic Freezer 13CO continuous operation, as AM4 compatible. It was mounted via the classic old school style AMD mounting mechanism, and on the website it's clearly stated that it has clearance and that it is compatible. However, this cooler can only be mounted in this specific configuration. You cannot twist it and have it blowed this way, so it blocks the first RAM slot. So I couldn't test the 32 gigs directly, so at the moment I'm just gonna test 16 gigs. I did some preliminary booting and I went to the BIOS, and everything is recognized properly. Temperatures with this cooler is around 56 degrees, 55 degrees idle. and the RAM was able to easily achieve 3200 with a specific RAM, which has a lot of issues, and the RGB on this motherboard has a lot of issues at the moment. If you go to the overclocking.net forum and the Asus ROG forum for the specific motherboard, you're gonna see a lot of people complaining and have the RGB have died, that have their RGBs dead. So there's also another video on YouTube where somebody who bought the specific RAM kits had his RGBs die. So apparently this is there's an issue with the Asus Aura software, which goes into conflict with also the G-Skill software for controlling the RGB and other software that read on the speed information of the RAM modules. So, and they tend to corrupt it. So at this time of day, do not install the Asus Aura software if you don't want to have your RGB RAMs die, their LED, and also the LED of your motherboard die. They should be able to fix it. I'm confident they will be able to fix it. But in order to avoid RMAs and hassle, just leave it as it is. The RGB works fine. This is an Asus Aura Alchemy 2.0 RGB strip, which synchronizes perfectly with the rest of the motherboard without any configuration whatsoever. So yeah, I plan to replace this radiator with a bit thinner one. It was a really hard and difficult to install it because the EK screws with this case are quite short, and it's really hard to manage to secure it on top of this case. It wasn't the case with the front radiator, because at the top here there are some anti-vibration grommets which make it really hard to install it. Other than that, I'm still waiting on, like I said, my SSD to properly run Windows and test the stability, and once that's done, I'm going to proceed to install the water cooling, the hardline tubing, with the 250 reservoir and the dual pump. So I'm gonna unbox these two parts and do a preliminary testing and impressions on those in another video. So subscribe, and that's all. Bye y'all.